Critical Role gets scary, a ton of D&D news, and our early GenCon news roundup.
Told me to round him up.
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday, our second news rundown of the week. Today we're talking about the latest episode of Critical Role, so spoilers there, the big D&D press event at GenCon, and a ton of other GenCon news. Now remember, if you like these kinds of news rundowns, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so we can keep making them. Now, on to the news.
Check this out.
Well, the big news in Critical Role last night is that Delilah is officially back and is a big problem for Bell's Hells. And also, she brought a friend. Ludinus lured Delilah out of Laudna after a back and forth about Ludinus's true intentions in the aftermath of Downfall. Delilah promptly retrieved Craven's Edge, yes, the cursed sword that Grog had in Campaign 1, from the Dread Emperor's dimension to attack the party, and Delilah then promptly used Craven's Edge to one-shot Orm.
No f***ing way, Matt
That's
Mercer.
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's totally Craven
It's not fucking Craven Edge! It's not! Something from the dimension we sealed it away in?
While the party barely defeated Delilah this time around, it was almost another team wipe, as almost every single party member was either down to single-digit HP or were down. The episode ended with Essek deciding to craft a soul anchor to help permanently pull Delilah out of Laudna, but with the caveat that it might not work and actually could make Delilah stronger. We'll see what happens next week.
Craven Edge got a cameo before Grog did.
Well, one of these has more personality than the other one.
So, Wizards of the Coast invited myself and many other press and influencer types to a kind of Gen Con kickoff event on Wednesday. Now, you can get the blow-by-blow over on my Twitter account, it's Seahoffer Cbus, but to summarize, we got some information about the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, and an early look at Project Sigil, the upcoming VTT. Now, I'm sure we will talk more about the VTT in a later video, but I do think that it's not the physical play killer that people are worried that it will be. It was basically described as another way that players can choose to play, although I don't think that even Wizards has decided what the final project will really offer to fans. It's very much a work in progress, and that was very obvious from the presentation we got. Right now, we know that it's an app, it's not browser-based, you'll have to download an app. It will have some free-to-play functionality and some D&D support, and it has a very robust level editing system that kind of looks like it was made for Baldur's Gate 3, which kind of tracks because both games were made with Unreal Engine 3. Also, they are using a lot of assets, or very similar-looking assets, to Baldur's Gate 3, including miniatures of Asterion and Karlach. I still have my concerns about how they're going to monetize this and how it's going to interact with D&D Beyond, but I'll at least withhold some of my judgment until this thing hits beta, which is supposed to happen later this year. In general, we'll talk more about what we learned at this press conference thing next week, but just to give you a tease, we spoke with art director Josh Herman about the Blue Dragon. We talked with Chris Perkins about what his plans were for Venger and the return of a classic monster that surprisingly hasn't really appeared in 5th edition yet, and we had a 20-minute conversation with the new head of D&D, Jess Lanzillo.
Can't wait.
In related news to this press event, we got our first real look at the monster manual as well. Wizards provided images of 3 stat blocks from the monster manual, an ancient green dragon, a Kuatoa, and some skeleton stat blocks. There are lots of changes made to all the stat blocks, but especially to the ancient green dragon. Just to give you a brief rundown of some of the big ones, there's no more frightening presence. The various types of physical attacks were replaced with a general rend attack that the dragon can use multiple times a turn, and it now has spellcasting, which makes a lot of sense. Also, dragons no longer have legendary actions, but it has more reactions every round, with specific triggers determining when to use them instead of the legendary actions disclaimer that you can't repeat the same legendary action over and over again. Also, lair actions might be gone. They didn't show them, but dragons do get more reactions if they're in their lair. We'll find out more about that soon, I'm guessing.
It's a waiting game right now.
So, Steamforged has a Kickstarter for the Strangelight Workshop, and we actually got a chance to take an early look of it. Now, the Strangelight Workshop brings the supernatural elements of the popular Iron Kingdom setting to life by slotting pretty seamlessly into the 5th edition rule set. Now, producer Pete got a sneak peek at some of the material for the Kickstarter, and he said that the miniatures they sent are of a noticeable higher quality than the ones being produced by Privateer Press, which was War Machine's previous owner. Privateer Press, of course, sold the rights to War Machine to Steamforged. But War Machine fans should be in for a treat because Privateer Press had some very poor quality 3D printed models because they attempted to pivot from sprue casting to 3D printing, whereas Steamforged, they clearly understand the miniature making process. It's really one of their strengths. Oddly, the adventure they included was actually from the 2022 release by Privateer Press and not a new adventure created by Steamforged after the acquisition, but then again, they're trying to turn this around pretty fast. But the adventure does do a great job of showing how neatly the classes and the mechanics from Strangelight fit into the 5th edition architecture. The classes add a lot of variety while being familiar enough for non-Iron Kingdoms fans to pick up and play, so you don't need to be a War Machine fan to try this game out. As for the classes, you basically play as a steampunk version of the Ghostbusters with lots of fun twists on standard occult classes. Also, it comes with this Strangelight mechanic, which the main job of that is to empower the weapons you use to fight the various supernatural beings and entities, and then you also try to keep those weapons from exploding on you. So that's a pretty interesting twist on like the Artificer class or Tinkerers. So basically, between the quality of miniatures you're going to receive and the fact that it's previously an award-winning setting that had simply fallen on some hard times due to, we'll say, poor management by the previous owners, Pete would at least say that this Kickstarter is well worth backing, not just for Iron Kingdoms and War Machine fans, but for people who like steampunk or people who like Lovecraftian horror. And it also has a very nice, clean 5e interface behind it all that makes it very, very approachable. The Kickstarter is running now. Be sure to check it out.
Maybe I will!
So here is a brief rundown of all the GenCon news that we've heard, focusing mainly on RPGs today. We'll probably have a smattering of more announcements as we see them. So the big news, we're getting a new 2nd edition of the Alien RPG, complete with a miniatures line, a new starter set, and more. Magpie Games is also making an RPG based off of the interactive browser game Fallen London, with a new RPG system designed just for the setting. Paizo announced several new adventure paths for Pathfinder, including Claws of the Tyrant, which features 3 adventures at 3 different tiers that are all tied to Tar-Baphon, the Whispering Tyrant. We're also getting an adventure path called the Spore War, which pits players against the Demon Lore Tree Razor, which actually, Tree Razor is pretty freaking cool looking. And also, finally, Shades of Blood, which focuses on the vampires in Aslan trying to blot out the sun. Also announced was Lost Omens Rival Academies, which focuses on the various magic schools across Golarion. And finally, Beadle Grimm has announced some surprising additions to their brand, with the company publishing a premium edition of Avatar Legends. They're also publishing an official adventure book based off of Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill, and finally, they're publishing a new Star Trek Picard Murder on the Titan A game of some kind. It's a murder mystery, I guess. All of these will launch on Kickstarter soon. So that's all the news that we have for you today. Let us know what your favorite story was in the comments section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.